you would have to be living under a rock if you didn't know that our queer young people have been at the heart of one of the most brutal attacks we have ever seen in our history. States across America, from radical GOP and evangelicals, have created a culture similar to an Anita Bryant-like Save Our Children campaign. But today, it's known as Don't Say Gay. Perhaps we are going to find the proverbial pie needed for today's conversation. Time magazine has said this fight, created in Florida, being exported to the nation, is one of the new civil rights movements for modern America. We're going to talk to people on the front lines of that fight and show you how they are doing and a lot more than political activism. So welcome to Unapologetically Queer. I'm your host, Al Ferguson, and I am proud to talk to some of the most interesting people that are interesting to our LGBTQ plus community. This conversation is unique because it is unedited. What you see is what you hear. And at Hotspots Happening Out, our mission is based on the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ plus community. And one of those 10 pillars is LGBTQ plus students and youth. Nonprofit 501c3 Julian's Fountain of Youth is a model to the nation of how to fight back against Don't Say Gay, and a presidential candidate that is using our children to gain power, raise money, and to win elections. Let's welcome Julian's Fountain of Youth founder, Julian Cavazos, and board member, Kyle Turner. And before we get started, I understand both of you are unapologetically queer.
Oh yes. More so today than ever before.
Than ever before. It seems to be growing in our community. All right, well, let's start right out of the gate on Julian's Fountain of Youth and how it started. After almost 30 years in nonprofit sector, Julian had the idea to do more for queer youth and formed the nonprofit Julian's Fountain of Youth, I believe in 2006. Tell me about what went into that, why you decided that this was something important to you to do.
Okay. Actually, it was 2017 is when I started JFOI, or founded JFOI.
Okay.
And that was really more of a result of, I was on the board of directors of SunServe, and one year we had a prom, and it was a small prom, and it wasn't what I would consider a really great prom. So I thought, why don't we have a fabulous prom like everybody else? And well, there's no monies for that, and our money, et cetera, which I totally understand. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna found an organization that does the fun stuff. I don't want to duplicate what other organizations are doing because they're doing a really great job. But how about I do something to supplement what they're up to, meaning prom, retreats, etc., the fun stuff. So that's kind of how it started.
And the idea in 2017, we're going to talk about 2018 a little bit in a bit of what dramatically changed in Florida in 2018. But the idea right from the beginning was a very positive way to help LGBT and queer students.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it was all about, for me, it was all about they should have a prom just like everybody else and all the other high school students in our community.
Yeah.
And it should be grand, it should be fabulous.
Yeah.
And so that's really how it started, and then it's grown from there.
Yeah. Interesting, because I didn't know that. I know both of you pretty well. I didn't know this was really as grassroots as that. That's how this started. Well, as you know, in that vein, Fountain of Youth has a vision that was rare to me as I began to read more about what Julian's Fountain of Youth was all about. In the early days for LGBTQ youth, they said this: the vision of Julian's Fountain of Youth, which is kind of a nickname of JFOI, is to engage our LGBTQ plus youth in building confidence, character, and courage to make responsible and ethical choices that will improve the quality of life for themselves, their families, and their community. That's a pretty lofty goal right from the very beginning, the quality of character for LGBTQ young people. Why did you do that, and has that been successful?
Why did we do that? I felt, based on what was out there for our youth and what I had seen, that we really needed to kind of pull them in and educate them about the past, our LGBTQ community past, because I thought it was important that they understand where this all came from, because it's surprisingly a lot of youth really don't know the history of our community.
Oh gosh, isn't that sad?
And
it's just a killer.
That was killer for me. But then also I felt that there was or had to be a way to educate our community about our LGBTQ youth and their needs. You know, what's going on with LGBTQ youth in our community. I felt there was a need there to bridge that gap, if you would, between our community and the straight community. And how was I going to do that? And then also I felt that our youth didn't have a safe place to go and be with other youth and do things such as work environment, One Fabulous Weekend, which we'll talk about, the retreat where there's like-minded youth and we're able to do experiential learning and so forth. So that was.
You know, a lot of people ask our program for what we consider the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ community. We elevated students and youth to one of those 10 pillars. And the reason we did that is because we thought, especially given the political times we were living in, there wasn't as much overt attention on LGBT young people, and if we expected them to thrive, we needed to have more attention on them, and that's exactly what Julian's Fountain of Youth is all about also. It's interesting also to me, being queer and a student and youth in America is a difficult time. And here's some examples, just as a reminder to everybody in what we're living. The Trevor Project this year says that the LGBTQ plus youth are twice as likely to be bullied in school as their straight counterparts, that they have significantly higher rates of suicide than their straight counterparts, and a new report just this year revealed that in the trans community, trans youth, a full 50% of all student youth who identify as trans in America have considered suicide in 2023. Half of all trans youth. So the mission that we talk about is challenge, and Julian's Fountain of Youth talks about that. They have this challenge in their mission, and I thought it was interesting. Let me tell you exactly what they said. Julian's Fountain of Youth's mission is to enrich, empower, and educate our LGBTQ plus youth and to challenge them beyond their normal comfort level to discover their abilities and their true authentic selves, regardless of their financial situation, by creating partnerships, programs, and experiences with local, national, and global organizations. It's interesting to me that Julian's Fountain of Youth doesn't say everything is going to be unicorns and rainbows. It's going to be difficult,
right? But
we're going to help you work through that. What was your thinking behind the challenge message of your mission?
Well, I know for me personally, I think it's in the straight youth community, if you will, I think they have the same challenge, some of the same challenges we had, and that is, youth are now spending more time on their computers, on their phones. It's a challenge to get them away from that because it's comfortable, right? But imagine being LGBTQ. That's also another world they can go to where all they're around and all they're a part of is LGBTQ things online, if you will. I feel I need to get them out of that and in front of people, because we've got to teach them social skills and so much. There's so much more here. But to me, that was the challenge, because what I'm finding too now is more and more LGBTQ youth feel more comfortable staying at home with their friends in the bedroom, having discussions, being online, playing games.
Not getting them out into the world.
Exactly.
You can't be authentic if you're not out in the world.
Exactly.
Or build self-confidence.
Yeah, yeah. And Kyle, I want to ask you, your attention in terms of wanting to come to the board to help support this mission. Why would somebody like you and other people that are supporting Julian's Fountain of Youth, why did you gravitate toward it?
Well, I mean, spending most of my life in a military or government arena, I was not always able to bring my full self to work. Not being able to do that, not having a safe space to perform and be my best, sometimes was very difficult, as a person growing and learning and carrying through life. It affected my own quality of life.
It's interesting to me because we've reported this is kind of a two-edged sword conversation because Julian's Fountain of Youth is designed, especially in the times that we are living, which I want to take a moment in a second to talk about, that are so incredibly difficult. But also one of the principal reasons why they're so difficult is because the LGBTQ community, to this minority core that is attacking us, is doing this living in fear. And the reason they're living in fear is exactly what you just said. In your young days, they discovered electricity about the same time, I understand?
Certainly.
Yeah, right. Is today, surveys are showing as many as 20% of Gen Zers and students, youth, are identifying as LGBTQ+. And that's scaring lots of this old mentality of going, wait, what's going on, and how are they going to vote, and what's going to happen to society if there are this many identifying queer people. And that's interesting in contrast to one of the reasons why you would come to the board. Before we talk about the programs, which are really exciting and lots of fun, let's take a moment to talk about what is going on in the world. And of course, we know the start in 2017, something happened the next year. In 2018, Ron DeSantis became Florida governor by just 14,000 votes. And for those 14-year-olds that you might support, they may not realize that in 2018, out of 14,000 votes that he won as governor, that was out of 9 million votes cast. That's how close that election was. And it literally changed everything. What did it generate? It generated Don't Say Gay, Moms for Liberty, book bans, woke queer ideology claims in our colleges, trans attack, healthcare, anti-business movements against Disney, drag queens, and it seems like he's just getting started as he now runs for President of the United States. Julian, I have to ask you, in your longevity in the nonprofit sector, what you were doing at SunServe, and just wanting to have a nice, fun prom for all of the queer kids to the formation in 2017. In many respects, 2017 was way better than it is today. Isn't that shocking to you?
It's stunning. It makes me angry. It scares me. You're right, though. When I took this on, I thought I was taking this on because I was going to do all this fun stuff. I had no idea what I was going to be up against doing this. As you know, when we had the Turnabout event for our youth and we were getting phone calls to not have the event. You're not doing this. We from Tallahassee. You are not to have this event. And well, there was no law saying we couldn't have. Well, but you shouldn't because it's their event. The kids are performing and they wanted us to stop. No, I had no idea that I was going to be up against something like this, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. We need J4 more now than ever. Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, when we've been doing recent strategic planning, we looked at that as something that we need to take a look at and manage and realize that it's there and part of the foundation.
I'm curious to that before we talk about all of the amazing things y'all do. Have you gone through a situation over the last couple of years, especially since his reelection in 22, where it's crossed your mind, we just can't keep doing this? Have you ever worried about that at all, or you
No.
thought,
No.
not even
It's
entertain
become
it?
more important.
Yeah.
If we're not doing it, who is?
Yeah.
Of course, there are others doing it, but we need to be more proactive and better and more efficient and effective in accomplishing our mission.
Yeah, Al, we come from a time of fighting during the AIDS epidemic. When we had to get up and scream and yell, and I was in D.C. and New York City with
Act up.
and I got
We say it simultaneously.
my butt kicked several times, and I got hit with a horse, and I went through all that. I am not backing down. No, matter of fact, it's never entered my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We can't let our youth today experience those kinds of things, but we do need to put them in situations to be better at who they are and build self-confidence.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some of the programs. One of the hearts of Julian's Fountain of Youth is called the Wilton Collective. And if you haven't been to Wilton and Wilton Drive, for viewers that do not know, think of the Wilton Collective as a glamazon thrift and consignment store. You can pay for things in the Wilton Collective that are 50 cents or $5,000, and it's really quite amazing. The most amazing thing for me is that the Wilton Collective is on Gay Main Street, USA. I've made many arguments with friends in P-Town and West Hollywood and other places around the country that this is the gayest place on planet Earth. And Wilton Drive is 2 miles of LGBT explosion, and you sit right in the heart of it. Tell me about the Wilton Collective and what your vision of it was. I know it's a fundraising mechanism, but tell everybody that doesn't understand what the Wilton Collective is.
Well, it's primarily a youth work program. That's number one. Okay, it's a safe place for youth who are LGBTQ to come and have their first job. Most of our kids, this is their first job. They come to us when they're 15, 16 years old. Even our management program is our youth. Everybody that's in management is going through the work program. But what started out as a small store across the street took off, and it took even with COVID, and then we were open for a month when COVID happened. We had to close our doors. And then when we reopened, the community just really embraced us and supported us. And so that's why we got a bigger space where we could do more. And it's, wow, it is a fundraising mechanism, but primarily it's a work program for youth.
And interesting, I've been into the collective so many times. I'll talk about the Friday program in a moment. But it's interesting in that, and please forgive me, your principal manager, I can't remember his name. Gage. When I met Gage, he's 20.
He just turned 18.
Oh my goodness.
He came to us at 16.
Yes.
And Kyle's shirt is older. When I met him, this is the manager of a store, and it's jarring, and it might not be if it was an LGBT, but this is outside of it. But this is LGBT, and the manager of the store is 18 years old, and I've watched him many times in his professionalism. And I'm running the store. There's problems that come up. There's customer issues that come up. There's return problems. There's product problems. And an 18-year-old is running it. It's an on-the-job training program.
Absolutely.
For LGBT.
And he went through a 90-day program to get him ready to become that. And I had the flexibility to go to the store and learn about the total operation from the ground up, and how hard it is, how difficult it is to make sure that things flow successfully. And Gage has really taken that opportunity.
We remind listeners, for anyone even close to my age, this was an impossibility at 18.
Ooh.
To have access to something like this was impossible.
Right.
New York City, impossible. Just impossible. I'm curious in terms of how you help the Wilton Collective. If you want to support, besides donation, contribution, which we'll talk about, how do you help in terms of product, or what do you do at the collective?
Thank you, Al. We're always looking for volunteers. Even if you just want to work one shift a week for 4 hours, we're always looking for volunteers to come in and work with our youth. Really important thing is you're mentoring youth. So you always have to have that in your mindset, in that we get to be patient. We're there to teach. We're there to teach youth. So you're not just volunteering to work with merchandise, you're working with kids. You're working with youth. So volunteers we're always looking for. And yes, we're always looking for donations. I'm talking about for in-the-store donations, men's and women's clothing and accessories, furniture, etc. We're always looking for that kind of assistance as well.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful program at the collective. Let's take a moment to talk about some of the big events that you do at Wilton Collective and Julian's Fountain of Youth. Now, top of it, which I really think is interesting, for viewers that have not been to Wilton Drive, there is no shortage of alcohol establishments on Wilton Drive. And on Fridays at 6:30, Julian's Fountain Youth, the Wilton Collective, puts themselves in that place, and it's called Mix and Mingle. It's on Fridays at 6:30 p.m., and it is a social happy hour, basically, and you have a bar, but it's not a bar because everything is given away for free.
Yes.
And I have taken advantage of so many free opportunities at Mix and Mingle. Tell us about that. Why do you do that event?
Yeah.
What does it do?
I love that, because people always go like, why do you, because this is a lot of work and you give away free drinks. It gives us great exposure to have everybody come into our store, number one, and see our products. It's a good way to get them in. Also, it's a great way to talk to people about who we are and what we're up to.
That's right. Social.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a great place for everybody to come together and meet people in our community who are like-minded in that. They're here to support us. And so what I thought would be kind of a once a month mix and mingle, really took off. Our Fridays are a lot of fun. We get to meet so many people in our community. The youth that work are 18 that night. Obviously, at the register, they don't work the bars or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or the bar, I should say. But yeah, so it's just a good way to bring community in to the Wilton Collective and show them our work program with our youth.
Yeah. Don't miss it. Plan on it Friday evening, the Mix and Mingle at the Collective.
And we have entertainment too.
Yeah.
We have entertainment. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Another of the programs that Fountain of Youth does is called Flyer, and it's the Fort Lauderdale Youth Empowerment Retreat. It is a yearly 3-day youth retreat where the LGBTQ plus youth community come together to participate in experiential learning courses and team building activities. Tell us about that program.
Wow. I honestly think that's probably one of the greatest things that we do, in that time and time again when we do our flyer or retreat, not just the feedback that I get from the youth, but the feedback that I get from the parents.
Right.
It's pretty cool because it is experiential learning, and for those of you who've never done experiential learning, I highly suggest you maybe do one, because it truly changes how you see things. I did it years ago. It changed my life, and I thought, if I can create something like this for youth, that would be pretty awesome. So that was kind of another add-on, if you will, relative to when putting this together in prom. And so the retreat was another part of that was very important to me, because these kids come out the other side really with some life-changing experiences.
Self-confidence.
And you were, Kyle's been a part of that as well.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I love the idea that it combines fun with education. Anytime that you can trick students into learning, it's a good thing.
We had an amazing drum circle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was
Another one of the programs that Fountain of Youth does in the same kind of vein, which I just learned about, I did not know, called One Fabulous Weekend. I've just come back. Hotspots Happening Out is the presenting sponsors of OMW and Gay Days and Girls in Wonderland and Bear Jamboree, all 4 events. Julian's Fountain of Youth was in Orlando, but not Gay Days in the not in the party sense of meaning. One Fabulous Weekend. Tell us about what you did there.
Okay, this is another program that we do that, for me personally, was very life-changing. In that, imagine being a 16 or 17-year-old LGBTQ youth and going to Disney, and all you see around you are like-minded people who accept you just
Remember,
the way
it's
you are.
Red Shirt Day on the first Saturday in June. At Disney.
And it, for me, when I first did this, it was like, oh, let's go to Disney, and I didn't realize the impact it was going to have on these kids to go to Disney and everybody accepts you just the way you are. There's no judgment, and everywhere you look, you see people just like you or like-minded like you. It's just incredible. So it's an amazing experience. For me, it's amazing because I like to sit in the background and just watch these kids just take it all in. It's so cool.
So the support for Fountain of Youth helps make this event. You brought how many kids?
We took 21.
And how many chaperones does it?
We had a total, with me included, 9.
9 chaperones for 21 kids. So 30, you're providing transportation, hotel accommodation at Disney, all of the meals, the park admission and really that's like going to the Stonewall Inn that first Saturday in Disney, because it's all about the history of the LGBTQ community at Disney, and they get to participate. It costs them nothing to do that. You know, it's interesting to me as I was learning of this, and I didn't know that y'all did this. When I went back, when I was in high school, Disney had an event called at the Magic Kingdom called Grad Night. And it was the all-night, overnight party, and hundreds and hundreds of buses would come in every Friday night and Saturday night through the month of May for Grad Night. And when I went to Grad Night, it's impossible for me to think about an LGBT experience when I was in high school in going to Grad Night. And that, for all intents and purposes, is what this event does. It creates a Grad Night experience where they get to see tens of thousands of LGBT people and Disney embracing the LGBTQ community. When I was in school, that was impossible. And you're delivering that for
positive memories.
And you can really see it in the youth when they get off the bus and we go into Disney. You can actually see in their bodies how they the shoulders come down, they're relaxed. It's like, wow. I'm getting goosebumps because it's just so cool for a kid to see that and experience that, I think.
Affirming to them. It's amazing, amazing. Now, if you know anything about Julian's Fountain of Youth, you know about their most famous event. I have never been to it.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I have never been to it.
We'll get to change.
I'm coming this year, yes. It's called Julian's Reverse Quinceañera. Okay. Now, it's going to be the 12th annual. It's on September 30th at 6:30 p.m. Now, let me give you my impression outside of the fishbowl. It's kind of like an art project. It's a movie where you're recording and there are actors performing in a movie. It's kind of like a Mexican television soap opera. It's a party. It's celebrating the idea conceptually of the 15-year-old girl and her 15th-year-old birthday party. And all of these things, you put it in a bowl, you shake it up, and that's what the reverse.
That's the reverse.
Do I have this
You
right?
did very good for somebody who's never been.
Right.
But yes, so the reverse quinceañera came about for my 51st birthday. I thought I was going to have a fundraiser, reverse quinceañera, for my 51st one time, right? You only turn 51 once, one reverse. 12 years later, because it was such a hit, it's really taken off that my character, her name is Myrna, she actually has her own telenovela. Myrna just wants to fall in love. She wants love. And unfortunately, between her family and friends, that just...
It's hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
Very, very hard. But I have something for you, Al. This year, your invitation is not just to attend, but to be one of our judges.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah. And what do you judge?
Well, there's an actual competition, and not every, but we kind of change it up. And this year, and last year we did, we have houses, because Myrna unfortunately had to go on the run.
Yeah.
She met some kids and created the House of Myrna. Mm-hmm. And the House of Myrna last year competed against the House of Kitty Meow.
Oh, I've heard of her.
You heard? Yeah.
Yeah, I know something about her. Yeah.
So anyway, and the House of Myrna won.
Oh, okay, of course.
And Kitty Meow is not very happy right now, but Kitty is going to return.
Oh.
And so this year, what's happening again, like last year, is we're actually going to be inviting different companies and organizations to have houses to compete.
Oh,
we'll have 7 houses competing.
Oh,
you'll be one of the judges.
Okay.
And the winner of the houses is sponsored. The winning house receives $3,500 for either their business, their charity, however that gets for them. So yes, there is
wonderful.
a prize.
Now this is going to be September 30th. And it's going to be at the Manor again, at the Event Center.
Yes, the Crystal Ballroom,
okay.
yes.
Now, and I've seen some, explain the movie to me. I've seen
telenovela.
Yeah, the telenovela.
So how the show starts is, Myrna has her own telenovela. We shoot her little soap opera,
Now, to viewers, in case you don't understand, Mexican telenovela is The Young and the Restless gone really wrong.
It's just not right.
Right.
Which makes it really quite funny.
Right.
And so, because everything goes wrong for Myrna, of course. But so what's really cool about this is the ending of the telenovela happens live on stage.
Okay.
At the reverse.
So you actually, when it's over, you think it's not over because it continues live on stage. That is also taped or video. What's the word now?
Yeah, recorded.
Thank you. Recorded, and then it's added for later when we do. Yeah.
Okay. And all of this is a fundraiser.
Yes.
For Julian's Fountain of Youth.
Yes.
And then all of the proceeds go to the events, the educational program, the collective, the trip to Disney, the experiential program, everything else. Yeah, okay. It sounds fun. September 30th, you don't want to miss. We're putting up information. Have tickets gone on sale yet?
Tickets are on sale now. We just started selling last week. So I'll make sure and get you the little QR code.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Sounds a lot of fun. Well, it's been fun talking about this. I kind of want to end back at where we started. Fountain of Youth is designed to help stand up for our students and our LGBT youth. What does your crystal ball say in terms of what you're going to be doing at Fountain of Youth? We're going to go through certainly a tough year and a half during this presidential run that our governor is going to do. But for the Fountain of Youth, where do you see this heading? You have some hope that we're going to win this fight, and organizations like Fountain of Youth will be front and center of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Gosh, where do I see us in the future? Number one, what I don't see happening is we are not going to back down. We are not going to stop doing what we're doing. That's not going to happen. I think it's important that we engage our youth, number one. That's one of the most important things that we get to do. That is, when I mean engage, I mean get them involved in what's happening in community, get them involved in getting out and getting the vote, etc. That's very important. Mm-hmm. Okay. our programs that we have, whether it's Flyer, One Fabulous Weekend, Wilton Collective, etc. Those are going nowhere. We're going to continue with that, and it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get better. Did you want to jump in?
Just supporting, them as young citizens as they move forward and building their own confidence. And it's just imperative. Empowering our youth is at the cornerstone of what we do.
Yeah, and very clear in this conversation, this is not just a social experience. This is an experience that helps them be better on the other side.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Before we end, you want to go to jfoy.org, complete information on all of these programs we've talked about, the events, tickets for the reverse quinceañera. Any particular house you think leading so far at this point?
The House of Flock Fest is
always
wow.
It was a great show.
They give a great show. I'm pretty sure they're going to be on stage this year or in September. So there's going to be, and there are going to be a few surprises. I think everybody, but the performances are just incredible.
Yes.
Can I make one quick point? I want to make one quick point because I want to be very clear to everybody, and that is that our organization, while we say LGBTQ, we are all inclusive.
Yeah.
So we have youth who maybe have 2 moms, 2 dads, or we have youth that are gay friendly. We're open to everyone.
You are diverse and inclusive, which 100%. Is the word. It's interesting as we finish, as I hear about the program here and what you're doing and why you should be supported. I heard RuPaul at one of the events I was associated with years ago, and she made one of the best speeches that I had ever heard on why we should support. She said, first, that the best support that we can do in our community is for those that do not have the strongest voice in our community, and that it makes us better that we stand up for them. And isn't that exactly what Julian's Fountain of Youth is doing? Standing up for LGBT and allied, in however it's defined, students and youth are among the most marginalized in what we see in our society. So RuPaul's challenge washes back over me 20 years later as clearly today as it did 20 years ago. And the second point that she made in this speech, which has never left me, her challenge was, if you don't, who will? And it's such a fundamental question, because when we hear and have a conversation like this, if you're not going to help get the kids to Disney for One Fabulous Weekend or participate in the on-the-job training program at Fountain of Youth at the Wilton Collective, then who is going to do it? And if you assume somebody else is going to do it, you're violating the very fundamental nature of how important this is for our community.
This work is so important.
We invite you, go to jfoy.org. Thank you, Julian Cavazos and board member Kyle Turner for joining us today on Unapologetically Queer.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for having us.
Yes.